Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Esoteric Agenda. I'm here with my co host, Mark Edworthy, and with us is V, who is temporarily away from the computer
Yeah,
at the
I'm here.
moment, I believe. Are you
Cool.
there? Okay.
I'm
Okay, so V's here, and we are all ready to do this episode. Now, we were wanting to do this with Tanhai Tran, who actually had to hold off on being here today because it is Good Friday, and but I had to debate on if I wanted to hold off on it or continue to do it, and I decided that it would be best to just do it because our last episode was about Boaz and the Pillars of Solomon, and from there I wanted to go into Jacob's ladder. Now I put this in because it fits perfectly into the discussion. But we were supposed to originally do the Emerald tablets, which I will do in the next episode of Esoteric Agenda. But I decided that I'm wanting to go ahead and continue with Jacob's Ladder because, like I said, it really does fit into the whole Masonic um, rituals and their lore. So we're going to do that this week. It's going to be about Jacob's Ladder. And to start it off, I'll just kind of give a brief story behind it. The account comes from the book of Genesis. And that would be Genesis 28:10 through 22, if anybody's curious. Now, the central figure of the story is Jacob, of course, and that would be the grandson of Abraham out of the Bible. So, how the story goes is he travels alone and he's fleeing after deceiving his brother Esau. Okay, and he stops to sleep in the wilderness and he uses a stone as a pillow. Now, that night he has a dream, and in the dream, a ladder or a stairway stretches from earth up into heaven, and then he sees angels who are ascending and descending on it. Now, at the top of the ladder stands God, who speaks directly to Jacob. Okay. Now, during that conversation, God is supposed to be reaffirming promises uh, of land and descendants and protection. Now, when Jacob wakes up, he says something that is supposed to be profound, which is, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know him," is what he says. So he ends up naming the place Bethel, which is the house of God. Now, without going all out, talking about scriptures and everything, I'm just gonna kind of get into what the ladder itself means. Okay. Now, the ladder in Hebrew means salam. Okay. Um, and uh, it it may not literally mean like wooden ladder, more like a cosmic staircase or a ramp. You know what I mean? Um, the symbolic meanings behind that, it's actually a connection between realms. Okay. Now the ladder usually represents like a bridge between heaven and earth. You know what I mean? And that goes along with a lot of different belief systems that also says that. If you look at, and I've mentioned that too with the Cosmic Weave, the episodes that I put out about how we were obsessed with ladders and spirals. You know what I mean? And you'll see that in a lot of religious and spiritual um, belief systems where the spiral and the stairs and the ladders and stuff like that are all symbolic. And so that's something that really stuck to me here lately, especially when it comes to that. Um, and like I said, the ladder usually represents like a bridge between heaven and earth. It also suggests like divine presence that isn't distant. It's accessible. It means you can actually access, you know, the divine. You know what I mean? And that's something else that I also um, have started figuring out that's something that even goes into like the world tree, which I'm always talking about, or like when it
Well,
comes, huh?
you can you can draw a parallel out pretty much anywhere. Genetics, the genetic sequence. Okay, it's a
Hmm.
ladder, spirals upwards. You have evolution. Evolution is a step forward every generation, right?
Yeah.
It's in all things.
Now, also another thing that stuck out to me was divine communication. Like if you notice in the whole thing with Jacob's ladder, the angels are moving up and down. Okay, and that's ongoing interaction if you really look at it. You know what I mean? Because they're going up and down. You know, not a one time miracle, a continuous flow, basically. You know what I mean? And that was something that stuck out to me too. And then awakening. You know, when you think awakening, uh, Jacob wasn't in a temple. It was just a random place. You know what I mean? That was something else too. He was using a rock as a pillow, and he was sleeping, and it was in a random place. He wasn't in a temple worshiping or anything like that. You know, so that tells me that story is trying to say that the sacred can appear anywhere, basically. You know, so awareness matters more than location, basically, is what I get out of that as well. You know. Um, and then when it also comes to like personal transformation, you know, if you know anything about the story, you understand that Jacob begins as a deceiver and a fugitive. Okay. Now, after the vision, he becomes someone who's marked by divine purpose. You know what I mean? And a good example of that is in Christianity, where it's seen as a symbol of connection through Christ. You know, referred to by Jesus in I think it was John, is the book of John. Oh, yeah, I think it was. It was like the book of John 151. So
The number, but yeah, I think it was John.
and then like you have it in Jewish thought as well. That would go into like
The
um,
tree of Kabbalah, right?
right, the spiritual ascent and
And
stage.
it's funny too because the way it kind of looks like the drawing of an atom or a molecule, excuse me.
Hmm.
It kind of looks like bacteria. It kind of looks like a lot of things.
Well, see, I've always seen it as like spiritual ascent, and then I've also seen it as like stages of growth. You know what I mean? And also like the whole relationship between God and Israel. That's a big one. And then I mean that's without even talking about like the mysticism, which is Kabbalah, like you were just talking about. You know what I mean? Because in Kabbalah, the ladder becomes like a model for ascending levels of consciousness. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because they use the term each rung. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, and it's also backed by sacred geometry, like the Fibonacci sequence, for example,
Hmm.
the golden ratio.
Well, see that was what I was wanting to get into, or that's what I was wanting to get into in my first attempt Esoteric Agenda when I was doing it before. But this was before my computer messed up a long time ago, and I went into the golden ratio. But then this time I decided to kind of like take a sidestep and get more deeper into the Masonic orders of things, which the golden ratio is a part of. But the Kabbalah is also a part of the Masonic order too. You know what I mean? Like they're real thick into the Kabbalah. I mean, and if anybody doesn't believe that, you can just do the research. You know what I mean? It's all connected. Is all I'm saying. So I mean, and that was the whole thing about it. It's like with the mysticism. You know, like when they say each rung, that actually is like a deeper awareness or closeness to the divine is what they're talking about. Um,
Well, in
and
Gnosticism, you have. So let's talk about the Book of You.
mhm,
Okay. The Book of You. This is a different Gnostic tradition. It's not the more prominent one, but according to the Book of You, you have the God. Well, God starts off as basically a realm. And you have different levels. You have a palace inside of a palace, inside of a palace, inside of a palace, and there's different levels as you go up. And but to go through these levels, you have to have the secret teachings. And
mhm,
Jesus drops the secret teachings in the Book of You. Uh, and these teachings are of codes because at every gate, because the book is kind of hellish. The book describes the spiritual space as you know external from the real world, but it is very hostile. Like angels are hostile. Like if you don't have permission to be there or you don't know the code, they will cut you down. You approach a gate, and you got to know the code to get in through that gate. And then each layer you go through is its own kingdom. And each time you get closer and closer to God. There's four angels that guard the very center and essence of God in the
mhm.
very middle. So you ever see like those Buddhist talismans? They're just like squares inside squares, and it's just wrapping around over and over.
Mhm.
Just
Yep.
think
Yeah.
of, but three dimensional. You pull it out. So yeah, it's like all throughout this kind of stuff. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, man, you are right on the dot. Because see, the thing of it is it's like Jacob's ladder, according to the philosophical angle, which a lot of people don't like to admit, but philosophy is based a lot off of Gnosticism. I mean, I mean, if you do enough research, you know that. You know what I mean? And according to the philosophical angle, you know, Jacob's ladder it suggests that reality is layers. You know what I mean? And that the visible world isn't the whole story. You know what I mean? It also suggests that there's a constant interaction between the seen and the unseen. It's less. It's less about the physical ladder. You know what I mean, and more about the structure of connection. Basically, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And like what you said right there, just I mean that jumps right in there. You know what I mean? Because it does. It ties the ideas of the cosmic origin, like the egg, which is in Greek mythology as well as the Phoenicians. It connects that between realms, and then like we've talked about Al-Kindi's rays. You know what I'm saying? And that would also go into the invisible influences that are flowing through reality. And like when we were having conversations about like dark matter waves, actually same thing. It's like these unseen structures that are shaping everything. I don't know, maybe that was overreaching.
Well, I mean, so But what are we getting from this? So, what is we recognize the science, and then what next?
Well, for me, this goes beyond Jacob's ladder. Okay, it goes into the death of Osiris, and so just so if anybody's watching and they don't know much about Osiris, Osiris was a king and a god of life. He was also supposed to be order and fertility. Now, according to the story, his brother Set betrayed him. He trapped him in a coffin and threw him into the Nile. Now, later, uh, his body was dismembered. And this is one of the, just so people know, this is one of the earliest and most influential death and resurrection myths there are. Okay, and it's actually caused a lot of controversy concerning the resurrection because of how close the resurrection of Isis or Osiris is compared to the resurrection of Jesus. But we can get to that here in a minute. But this is one of the earliest and most influential. Uh, if you don't talk about like uh, um, what was her name? She's the one that was out of Babylon and Samaria. Ishtar. You know, she was a resurrection too. She's probably the first. But Osiris is one of the first ones too. Now the resurrection wasn't the same though. There wasn't a return. Now Osiris's wife, Isis, according to the story, gathers his scattered pieces, and through magic and rituals she restores him temporarily to life. But here's the key to it all. Osiris doesn't return to the world of the living. Instead, Osiris becomes ruler of the Duat, which is the Egyptian underworld. Okay, now he presides over the judgment of souls, and he becomes an eternal, stable or figure of death and rebirth, basically. Now, if you want to tie this into Jacob's ladder, you have to ask yourself, you have to know about Nut, and you have to say, where does Nut come in and where does Nut fit into this, okay? Now, Nut, in her role, is the fact that Nut is Osiris's mother, and she's the
Are
sky.
you sure it's not Newt?
Well, Nut, whatever.
Yeah.
It's spelled Nut, dude.
Let's go with Newt.
It is. I think it is supposed to not but pronounced Newt.
Okay, we'll call it Newt. I also have a problem with saying Toth and Toth and Thoth and like whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, well, Newt, okay, or Nut.
Well, I just don't want to hear you say nut. Over again.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Barry, just before you continue, you might want to move your cup.
Now, see, Newt is Osiris's mother, and she is the sky who swallows the sun each night, okay, and gives birth to it each morning. Now, in funerary texts and coffin art, the deceased, including Osiris, is often shown inside Newt's body, and she envelops and protects the dead. Now, Newt represents rebirth through the cosmos, okay? The real symbolic connection between this is that Osiris and all of the dead are being received into Newt as part of a cosmic cycle of rebirth. Okay, so you can think of Newt as like a cosmic womb or a protective vault of the stars, or even a passage between death and renewal. There's also a powerful mirror, the sun god Ra, who travels through the underworld each night. He merges with Osiris in the Duat, then is reborn through Newt at dawn. You see what I mean? So basically, Osiris equals stability of death, and then Newt is the cycle of rebirth, and then Ra is the ongoing renewal. Okay. Does this make any sense so far?
Yeah, I know, sir. Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so the myth system is basically saying that death is not escape. Okay, it's transition, and that safety isn't found by like fleeing upward. It's found by becoming part of the cycle in the sky, which is Newt doesn't hide you. It remakes you. So Osiris climbing into Newt for safety, which is what I was saying, actually, uh, it does feel right symbolically, even though I said it like that and it wasn't accurate. It was Mark would call it conjecture if I wasn't saying this. You know what I'm saying? This, but but it does feel right symbolically. You know what I mean? Because Nut does shelter the dead for one, and she contains and transforms them. She's also associated with protection and rebirth, even though it doesn't straight out say that's what he did. That's what it's all about, you know. So it's just expressed in the Egyptian thought as absorption, and renewal, and not escape. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. And when you compare like the two, when you compare Jacob's ladder with Osiris and his relationship with Nut, and the dead's relationship with the Nut when it comes to Egypt, you have two visions of the divine, which is basically ascent versus embrace. Okay, so if we place these two things side by side, not just as stories, but as two completely different ways of understanding the connection between humanity and the divine, we come up with a couple of things. Now, from the book of Genesis, we have Jacob. That's a ladder or a stairway which connects earth to heaven. Angels moving up and down continuously, and then God standing above, speaking down. Okay. Now, this connection is vertical and directional. Okay. You have earth and then heaven, and then you have human and divine. And then you have movement and ascent or descent of messages, basically. So, this is a system of communication, it's hierarchy, access. You also have the divine, which is above, and there's a path to reach it, basically. So, from,
You know,
oh, go ahead.
I think you know what. So these are stories that stories that we need. I think as children, because I mean, we always have questions as children. Oh, why is this? Why is that? Oh, why do I have to do this? I don't want to do that because you have to for your survival. Screw survival. You know, well,
Yeah,
that's how emo could people are today because they're not. It's not being reinforced onto them that you need to make progress.
yeah,
Every day we wake up, we're doing something. We got to make progress. We're working on something. We're making money. We're doing projects. We're cooking food. We're doing something to progress forward. And if humanity loses sight of progression, then we're cooked. So I think these stories are kind of cooked into everything to reinforce our psyche so that we don't damn ourselves.
yeah. You're right. You're very much right. Now, I was talking mostly right there about Jacob's ladder, but this also goes into the whole Egyptian mythology with Osiris and Nut as well. So that's something that I should probably mention too. Like, like Osiris, he dies and he's restored and he becomes ruler of the underworld. Now, after that, you also look at Nut. Nut envelopes the dead in the cosmos itself, basically. And then you have the sun Ra, uh, which is reborn through daily her daily routine. You know what I mean? So the core idea behind that is the connection is cyclical and immersive, basically. You know what I mean? No climbing required. The divine contains you. You have death, which represents transformation and rebirth. Okay. And that right there is pretty profound. This is ancient Egypt, if you stop and think about it. This is before freaking Moses or any of the stories out of the freaking Bible ever came along. You know what I mean? This is ancient Egypt where this is coming from. This is a system of absorption, renewal, continuity, and the divine isn't above, you know what I mean? It's around and through everything. So you do have key differences there, you know what I mean? Direction versus cycle, basically. And I thought somebody was moving around. So, but like with Jacob's ladder, you have that linear movement, which is up and down, where with Osiris and Nut, you have that circular process, which is death and rebirth. Then, like with the relationship to the divine, Jacob's ladder, you approach the divine, where as with Osiris and Nut, you're taken into the divine. And then after death, Jacob's worldview, which is later translations, the soul moves through toward heaven, whereas with Osiris's world, the soul enters a system of judgment and transformation. Then it continues. So you have that, and then you have the structure of reality itself, where Jacob's ladder is like layered vertically, where earth is below and heaven is above. And according to the Egyptian cosmology, reality is enclosed in living, basically. So Nut literally is the sky. You know what I mean? Does all that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
How about you, Bede?
Well, it's so. Remember that witch's spell? You have the ingredients for the cauldron. One of the
Mm-hmm.
ingredients, the eye of Newt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's for a reason.
Well, let us know what that reason is.
It's just the eye of Newt. I mean, if you take in parts of different deities and you can throw them together, create power, spell, potion. You're mastering your own universe. It's alchemy. It's witchcraft. It's biochemistry, whatever you want to call it. It is the divine. That's everything. But if we have understanding of it, we become the divine and the executors and procurers of said things in our reality.
Right.
Right.
No, it's like, well, ladder thinking, okay? If you want to call it that, we can call it ladder thinking. According to that, truth is somewhere higher, basically, and you have to move towards it. You know what I mean? And distance separates human and the divine. You know what I mean? But then if you get into like Nut and Osiris thinking, all right, truth is already surrounding you. You have to participate in it. So there's no true separation, only transformation, and that's where they secretly overlap. Basically, you know what I mean? Even with their differences, they share something powerful. You know what I mean? Both describe a connection between worlds. Both reject the idea that reality is only what we see. And it also, and both suggest that like movements between states of being are possible. You know what I mean? So you could say like Jacob's ladder is the bridge, and nut's the container basically, and that right there by itself actually even goes into Buddhism. You know what I mean? When it comes to the container, I don't know if you've done much in the whole study of Buddhism or not, V, but that's
Yeah, I have.
what the whole concept of the container is very very important to him. You know that
Oh
that,
yeah,
that
it's
that's
kind of like remember that movie, The One,
mm-hmm.
Jet Li? How he had systematically he was hopping universes, killing himself to gain power. He said all that energy is wasted energy, but it's not wasted if you put it all in this one container.
Right.
Yeah,
Let's see, like one shows the path and then the other shows the process. You see, when it comes to like if you're gonna look at um, Jacob's ladder and Osiris with Nut, that's the way you have to look at it. One shows the path and the other shows the process. Um, so what I've been exploring is something that in my opinion it threads the whole thing to where it lines up pretty good. You know what I mean? Because I've been talking about the cosmic egg a lot when I talk about the cosmic weave on my show, and it basically talks about origins. Here recently, I've been able to really get into Al-Kindi, which I believe is in these episodes. You know what I mean? And Al-Kindi's rays is very important because that actually gets into like the invisible influences in the world. And then like when we were doing the third thing, we were talking about dark matter waves. And if you noticed, I've gotten really interested in these waves. You know what I mean? Frequencies and stuff like that, which that again is an unseen structure, which I mentioned earlier. You know what I mean? But then when you take a look at Jacob's ladder and Osiris, and that starts getting into stuff like connection and transformation, which is also another big part. And I'm always talking about how a lot of this is alchemical, you know, and I really do believe that a lot of these supposed religions slash mythologies, which I don't like calling ancient belief systems mythologies. By the way, I like to call them religions, but they're all connected to uh, alchemy. I mean, you can find it in all of their texts. It's ancient alchemy is what it really is, you know. So I don't know if any of that made sense. I just did a whole entire thing and went on a tangent, didn't I?
sorry,
Just
I'm having to stay muted because you're taking me out of the show here. I'm trying not to laugh my butt off over here.
Why are you laughing?
Anyways, yeah, I mean, try to focus here. Come on, you don't have my immature side, and you sparked my immature side. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. So so what do we do with it? What's the point in talking about the esoteric? What are we doing here?
Well, I mean, I enjoy actually getting into the esoterics.
I'm waiting for you to pull a rabbit out of a hat.
I'm just curious about your issue with the term mythology.
Well, first of all, it's like it wasn't mythology back when it was going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it is mythology now.
No, it's not. It's like it's like Christianity is mythology. If you want to get technical, why do I have to?
Yeah.
If you don't believe in it, it's mythology.
Well, I
That's
mean,
what makes it
Yeah.
why do I have to call Christianity a religion? I mean, it's just out of pure respect, but since nobody believes in Odin no more, everybody can just be disrespectful and call it a mythology. I mean, that's bullshit.
Disrespectful to whom?
To the people who lived during that time who actually believed in it. It's like you don't have to have respect for the dead anymore. I mean, seriously, dude,
Okay. I can see where you're coming from.
it's bullshit. And I mean, it's like V just now asking, well, what's the point? This. Come on, dude, seriously, like that's bullshit.
I mean,
That's like
we
bullshit.
know the esoteric. We
No,
know
it's bullshit.
the esoteric. But what, you go sit at the bus stop with a Gen Zer, or I'm sorry, a Gen Alpha.
Who gives a shit
Try to
about the
have a
Gen?
conversation with this guy.
Fuck the Gen Z, dude. The fuckers can't even read.
Gen Z, please.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's my
Tell
point.
them to freaking spell their name in cursive, and I'll give a shit. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry.
I mean,
You're cracking me up here.
whatever, dude. It's like,
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
God.
so that's my point. You'd be
who
lucky
gives a
if you able to
shit?
read.
I'm not doing this for the Gen Zers. I don't give a shit about the Gen Zers. I give a shit.
You're reading for the kids, buddy.
Whatever,
What
dude.
about the kids?
If any Gen Zs are watching this, and no offense mean,
Trust me, there's no Gen Zer who's watching this shit because you know why? They're on freaking
never know.
Steam
You never
freaking
know.
playing Pokemon, dude.
Pokemon Go.
You know,
That's still going on.
it's like if you're over the age of 40 and you're still freaking trying to cater to the freaking Gen Zers, you're an idiot.
No, everything is for the kids.
Okay.
Our current, the boomers screwed everything up. My generation is struggling with it, and then you got the alphas who just la di da di da.
Mhm.
So we can't save anybody that's already older than us. We already crapped the bed. Somebody has got to come along and pick this up where we leave off.
Well, see, the whole thing about this is it's like you look at what I'm discussing here, and you ask important things like, is there something that's unseen?
Mhm.
Something that's connecting everything, something that's shaping everything. Something that's carrying everything through change. Okay. And you're not gonna find that shit freaking with a lot of these younger generations because they don't give a shit about that stuff. That's why society has been dumbed down because they don't appreciate the fact that freaking this shit is what we have as a society historically have gone through and what we've known and what we've learned over the years. You know what I mean? It's just a complete disrespect for our own freaking history. Okay. And I find it really a shame that freaking our generation is probably the last of the generation who's actually going to be discussing this shit. Okay.
In the future, scientists will prove that we never existed.
That's what they're going to try to say, man. You know,
I don't know.
it's actually pretty interesting if you're really willing to look at it and do the research behind it, because like a lot of this is connected. And I've heard a lot of like people who are into ufology and stuff try to connect it to like aliens and stuff like that. And I actually look at it like this, you know what I'm saying? Like with the latter, by itself. And then I mentioned like the spiral shapes that you see, especially in the Southwest in America. You'll see them from the ancient Indians who have it written carved in stones and stuff, or put on by like charcoal and stuff onto the stones. And people connect that to a bunch of stuff that's related to ufology, but that actually goes into a lot of ancient spiritual beliefs too. Like the spiral is connected to the cosmos. You know what I mean? Just like the ladder is connected to the cosmos. And like whenever I was doing the cosmic weave, I started finding out connections between how the human brain functions and how we relate things when it comes to what we see in the world. You know what I mean? Like we have, I always mention the climbing fibers and the mossy fibers within the brain. Okay. Now, the climbing fibers climb upward and they spiral, just like you said with the DNA. Okay. Even though we're not aware of this, our brain is fully aware of it. It knows how it functions, it knows everything about the human body, even though we don't consciously know it. So when you step outside and you see things like a tree or a ladder or something that spiral, your brain is subconsciously connecting to that, and it's making it into something more than what it really is. You see what I mean? Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your brain is basically like a myth generator. All right. And it has to make something more out of what these things are. When it sees a tree, it's thinking of the climbing fibers within the brain. You know, when it sees freaking mossy fibers, or when it sees freaking climbing, like vines and stuff, it's seeing climbing fibers too. You know, now in the brain, you have the climbing fibers, which is the ones that creates a spark. It's the one that gives you freaking inspiration. It's the one that gives you unique thoughts. It's the spark basically. And then the mossy fibers, that's the fiber that freaking sends out the error message saying, look, don't do that. You're making a mistake. You're making a mistake. It's not saying that it's a failure. It's just saying, it's warning you, don't do that. Like if you put your hand over a freaking fire, that mossy fiber is going to say, no, don't do that. You're going to get burned. You see, it's the climbing fiber that makes you want to touch the fire. You know what I mean? So you have that going on there.
Are you one of them tree huggers?
No.
Are you one of them pinko commies?
But see, this all relates to what I'm talking about here. You
No,
know?
I know what you mean. But so I mean, you bring up the tree, mossy fibers. Yeah. Well, we have neural networks. We have neural fibers. Okay. Yeah, it's no different than a network of branches and trees. The tree is rooted into the ground and touches the sky. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, life and these patterns repeat in everything.
You there?
Yeah, did you hear me?
Yeah, it sounded like you almost you went like everything in your background went quiet, so I didn't know for sure.
I just paused or muted.
Oh, okay. It actually
Yeah.
helped your audio better when you did that. That's weird. But yeah, I mean, it's okay now. These patterns too. Okay, the thing of it is it's like when you take a look at them though, and I think a lot of people have an issue with them because they don't understand that it's related a lot more. Because like, yeah, you can call it myth generators if you want to, okay, because we do that. We have an imagination. We create stories, you know. We create folklore and stuff like that, which is fictional. But at the same time, there's something spiritual in that too when you look at it, because and it's something that's beyond us, because when you take a look at like the Jacob's ladder, for one thing, which is connection. Okay, you look outside of yourself and you relate you find how the way the human brain works in connection to like theta waves or alpha waves, how they're really closely affiliated with like the um resonance, the human resonance, for example. You know what I mean? Like it's very, very close. And then I mentioned previously too, like about birds being able to migrate from the north to the south and south to the north by using magnetic um, uh, waves for long term direction. You know what I mean? Like they can literally.
Something that's in my documentaries, if anybody would be interested, I talk about the magnetites that are in our brains. Just metal filings, pretty much, naturally in our brains. And they are supposed to give us a sense of direction by us feeling the magnetic field. However, as humans, we already intellectualize everything, and this is a sense that we ignore. But animals don't. And they're pretty good at it. So, yeah, good stuff.
Right. Now, like when you start talking about origin and you start talking about invisible influences, you know, or unseen structures, like I think people have a hard time. Like Tan, we've had conversations with Tan where he tries to say that God is not a part of the cosmos. I don't believe that whatsoever. I believe that if you want to call anything God, you call the cosmos itself God. You know what I mean?
Well, I would say the cosmos is the product and a part of the demiurge, not the monad that emanated.
Well, see, I'm not Gnostic though.
There we go.
I find that as being an advantage from because I don't claim any religious belief whatsoever. I take notes, okay, and I think that by claiming a religion, you're actually restricting yourself. You know, like
Gnosticism is not a religion; it's a school of thought.
well, you can say that. You can say
Ask any
Yeah.
Gnostic.
Yeah.
They'll tell you it's a school of thought.
I can
Is
say
there a difference? Is there a difference between religion and philosophy?
not
within
really.
this?
No, there isn't.
Well, philosophy it can be applied to things. Religion, you could just make something up and it doesn't apply to anything.
Well, I mean, I can call Christianity a thought. You know what I mean? Because
Well, no. Because under the context, Gnosticism, in its core value, its core feature is that the pursuit of knowledge, because only knowledge can save you. So it's not limitation. It's not a religion. You have to go cut your piece here. Get
the
core.
the pursuit of knowledge itself could be considered to be a part or form of religion.
You eating it, is that part of a form of religion?
Well, when you take a look at Gnosticism, it's like a saturation of Pythagorean and Christian ideologies.
Well, it's a lot of Eastern and
there's a lot of Egyptian
that
influence
comes to it. Yeah, a lot of Coptic stuff. Correct.
You know, so I mean, and if you really want to get into it, really, it's more syncretism than it is anything else. It's like with the Buddhists, like they have the Tao, and then they have all these other sects that are involved with it, and they all call themselves Buddhists, but they all have what the Christians would call denominations. You know what I mean? And that's basically a syncretism of a religion. Like everybody thinks that Christianity came from this golden age where everybody believed in the same thing, and it's not true. They were actually different factions that eventually killed off the smaller factions until
Yep.
they became what
Oh,
they are now, you know?
yep. Yeah, I love the Catholics.
You know, no, I mean, not Catholic. I'm talking about Christians too. Because, I mean, Catholics, if you want to get technical, Catholics is where it started. I mean, and that pisses a lot of Christians off because they don't want to hear that. But the truth is that's where the Christian church was. Today you would call it the Catholic Church, but it branched off.
Well, for every different kind of different schools of thoughts, different kind of, yeah. I mean, they wouldn't kill those people.
Mm-hmm.
They killed off so many different Christian sects, called them cults or heretics, and yeah, that's the prevailing religion will be the most murderous one
Mm-hmm.
in the situation.
And I should stand corrected on that because the Nazarene were actually not Catholic. They were the only ones that were actually from the time just after, I believe, just after Jesus, and they actually survived. So they were actually their own belief system, which I'm surprised by. I was really surprised when I found that out. But they were the Nazarenes. So, which that's kind of weird because isn't Jesus associated with the Nazarene?
It's from Bethlehem, yes,
Mm.
Nazarene.
Yep.
Mm.
So I did find that pretty interesting, and
That's what I tell people, by the way, when the topic of cutting my hair comes up. Like, no, I don't Nazarene. I'm Sam.
yeah, got to bring Samson up in here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Will have to use that excuse myself.
Yeah, there you go.
So the one thing that I wanted to get through that is that, and then eventually I do want to get into the golden ratio and stuff because I did a little bit of it in my like I said in my older videos for this series. That was before I started doing last year, and the ones that I edited out, the 15-minute videos, I actually ended the whole thing on the golden ratio. So I thought that maybe I jumped a little too far ahead because I went from the Temple of Solomon and the Freemasons right into the golden ratio. And I'm really glad that I stepped back and I took a slower approach when it came to the Temple of Solomon. And because I was able to explain a lot more about that with the pillars. And this time I wanted to go over Jacob's ladder. And there's a lot of symbolism that goes into the Freemasons, which I do want to kind of go over. Now, just to kind of say why I thought that was important was because like the golden ratio, to be honest, is a more later incorporation of Freemasonry. To be honest, it's more of the after the Age of Enlightenment kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Whereas before they had different tenets, which involved the pillars of the Temple of Solomon, and then you had what was it? Well, the freaking Jacob's ladder was one of them. There was a lot of lore that was involved in it, and I wanted to go through that before I started getting into the golden ratio, and I'll come back to it, you know, but it'll be later on. The Emerald tablets, I brought that up because Mr. Robot was talking about it, and I figured that I'd mention it and bring it up in a thing. I'm not really too impressed with it, to be honest with you. It is a part of the esoterics, though, when it comes to the Middle Ages. So I do want to go over it because of that, you know. But I don't know. I guess that would be next week's topic. Whenever we come back, I'll start talking about the emerald tablets, and I just didn't think that it would be right to talk about Boaz and the pillars for the temple of Solomon without talking about Jacob's ladder too, because that kind of leads right into it. And like I said, I wish Tan was actually here because that's the reason why I wanted to do it. But it's good.
As we were saying, as we were talking about just before we started the stream, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was good because we do need to get through it. And it's important. And when it comes to Jacob's ladder, for me there's no mistake about the similarities between Osiris and Jacob's ladder and the relationship with Osiris and Nut and how that all plays a part in the day-to-day resurrection. You know what I mean? I think that's something that's very, very important. So that right there is something that I did that it did catch my mind. There's a lot of people who've actually discussed this in the past, and I didn't think it would be right to just skip by it and not bring it up. So at least bring it up and kind of discuss it, even though B doesn't get into this stuff because he's looking for the younger Gen Z crowd that talks all cool video game lingo and dresses up like furries.
Well, when I'm an old man, like 80 years old, and I haven't had kids yet, I'm gonna need to go and find me a 20-year-old who make her think I'm
Whatever.
rich and give me a bunch of kids,
Whatever.
so I can have a legacy.
At 80, you're not gonna be able to freaking have even little rabbits, dude. Like that's
Man, listen.
you better start moving, doing it
Look,
now, dude.
I have some unfortunate family history. I have children that didn't make it, but not my fault. It's always the mother's fault. But no, I have the golden tip, sir. I've only not used a condom 3 times in my life, and all 3 times the pregnancy came about.
So you got kids, or just
They're not with us anymore.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why I do what I do.
So now that we are at the end of the hour, let's give everybody our socials so that we can in the esoteric agenda, and we can move on to the next episode. So with that being said, let's start with you, Mark. Tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, nice and easy. Minds.com under the username Medworthy.
Okay, how about you, V?
Oh, you can find me in the back room. Well, actually, you can find me in the pool rooms, staring at large, megalithic statues that look at me, wanting to devour my soul. How about that?
That's fine.
Back in the pool rooms. Come find me.
Now you can find us on Discord at the Wonderful World of Weirdness. If you are on Teams, you can find us at Rogers Hangout. On Element Matrix, you can find us on Rogers Hangout as well. And we are also streaming on Rumble, Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. You can find us on Rumble and YouTube at The Wonderful World of Weirdness. On YouTube, you can also find our sister channel, which is Strange Stories. That is also on minds.com, and It's a Strange Stories group, which you can find us there as well. So if you're on minds.com, check us out in the groups at Strange Stories. Now on Kick, I am Roger_Hanson. And on Twitch, I am Infamous1969. So you can find me there at that. And with that being said, if you like this episode, please like, subscribe, share, make comments in the comment section. The chat section's cool, but we really enjoy comments in the comment section too. Say hi to us, give us your feedback, whatever you want. Just say something to us so that we can comment back to you. If you have something to say to somebody here on the panel and they don't see it, then I'll make sure that they get the message and they'll be able to respond to you. So with that being said, thank you for being here. I hope you have a good day, good morning, good evening, afternoon, whatever time of the day it is for you. And we will talk to you later.